Hello, my wonderful grandchildren. I have a story here for you called Here Comes the Bridesmaid. And it's another story by Shirley Hughes. What do you think is going on in this picture? Any ideas? Well, let's see. We know who this is, right? There's our friend Alfie. Looks like Alfie's playing with some of his toys. Kind of a robot toy here and a truck and his little elephant. I'm not sure what he's got in his hand. Maybe another car or truck? Annie Rose looks like she's having a snack or maybe some breakfast. What do you think? She's sitting in her seat, not making quite as much mess as we've seen her do in the past. And there's Alfie and Annie Rose's mom, and she's reading something, isn't she? Well, let's see what it's about. One morning, Mom had a letter from her friend Lynn, whom she used to know at work. Lynn wrote that she was going to get married to Harvey Jones, and that she wanted them all to come to her wedding. She especially wanted Alfie to be there because she would like him to be her page. What's a page? Alfie wanted to know. Is it something in a book? No, it's not that kind of page, said Mom, still reading. It's someone who walks behind the bride in the church. There will be two big girls walking with you. They're called bridesmaids. But why does Lynn need all those people walking behind her just because she's marrying Harvey Jones? Asked Alfie. Because on that day, Lynn will be the bride and a very special person, Mom explained. She'll wear a long white dress, and you'll have to have a new shirt and a new pair of trousers. Now, Alfie's thinking about this. He's looking at the letter too. He's put down his cars, and he's looking at the letter and he's thinking about it. Is that all I have to do? Just walk, said Alfie. He didn't think that being a page sounded very interesting, but he liked Lynn. And when he heard that after he'd walked behind her in church and been very good and quiet while everyone watched her get married, they would go and have a lovely party with different kinds of cake. He thought that perhaps being a page wouldn't be too bad. Oh, that does sound like it might be a nice thing to go and have a party, right? Okay, so there, I think they're in the church. Looks to me like they're in the church where the wedding is going to happen. And I would guess that this is Lynn and Alfie walking right behind her. And then right behind Alfie are the two girls who are going to be the bridesmaids. And there you can see Alfie's mom and Annie Rose watching as they practice. So let's see what this says. The day before the wedding, Mom took Alfie down to the church to meet Lynn and the bridesmaids so that they would all know what to do. And of course, Annie Rose came too. She and Mom sat at the back of the church and watched while Lynn practiced walking up between all the rows of seats to the top of the church, where the minister and Harvey would be standing under a window made of colored glass. Behind her walked Alfie, putting one foot after another very slowly and carefully. Why is he going to have to do that? Can you think about it? Let's think about it and see. He's walking very slowly and carefully, and he's looking down at the ground. Let's see what it says. And behind him walked the two bridesmaids, side by side. Alfie had to be specially careful to leave a space between his feet and Lynn's to make room for the long dress she was going to wear. So now have you figured out why he's looking down at the floor? He's pretending that Lynn is wearing her long dress already, and he's pretending to walk carefully so he doesn't step on it. That wouldn't be a very good accident, would it? If he stepped on her pretty long dress? Wouldn't want to do that. You see Lynn and Alfie? After they'd done this a couple of times, Lynn gave Alfie a hug and told him he'd got it just right. Well, that's always nice to hear, isn't it? Now look at this funny picture. Now who's being the bride? You see Alfie's dad pretending to be the bride? And Alfie practicing? That's funny. That evening, Alfie practiced some more. He made Dad walk up and down, wearing a sheet pinned round his waist and hanging down at the back so that he could practice not treading on it. He looked hard at the ground and managed not to, not even once. That's a funny picture, isn't it? But he's practicing. If you want to do something well, you have to practice. I think Annie Rose thinks it's kind of funny. It is kind of funny to see their dad looking like he's the bride, isn't it? With a sheet around him to look like a dress. That is a funny picture. Oh, look how beautiful this is. Wow, can you see? There's the church, and look at all the people there for the wedding. You can see them all dressed up so beautifully. Everybody has their fancy clothes on. And who's this in the very back row? Is that Alfie's dad and his mom and Annie Rose? And there's our friend Alfie. Oh my, look how fancy he is. He got a new shirt and new trousers or pants, and he's wearing a tie. And the bridesmaids look so beautiful with flowers. And there's Lynn. Doesn't she look lovely? She looks like a princess, doesn't she? And this person is probably Lynn's father. That's usually who walks with the bride when she's ready to walk down the aisle in the church. So everybody looks so beautiful. The wedding was at 3 o'clock the next day. Alfie and Dad, Mom, and Annie Rose arrived early. Alfie, looking extra clean and tidy, stood with the two big bridesmaids at the church door, waiting for Lynn. The church was full of people. Harvey was there already, up at the front. Mom, Dad, and Annie Rose sat right at the back. At last, a big shiny car, you can just about see it here. A big shiny car with white ribbons tied on the front drew up. Out got Lynn with her dad, so that's her dad, just like we were guessing. She looked quite different from usual, all dressed up in her long white dress. Alfie thought she was like a princess with a crown of flowers. See the flowers on her head? He thinks it looks like a crown, like a queen or a princess would wear. Then the music played very loudly, and everyone stood up. Lynn took her dad's arm, and they all began to walk very slowly up the aisle to where Harvey was waiting. It was just as they had practiced it, except that now all the people were looking at them. But Alfie kept his eyes straight ahead. He was being careful not to tread on Lynn's beautiful white dress. Halfway up the church, Alfie felt something behind him, tugging at the back of his shirt. Do you have any idea what that might have been? I'm going to show you the picture. I think you might think it's funny what was tugging on Alfie's shirt. Who was tugging on Alfie's shirt? Annie Rose was, wasn't she? There's the bridesmaids, and they're looking lovely and stepping just in time, and there's Alfie being so careful. See, here's Lynn's dress, and he's not stepping on it. But who's with him now? That little scamp, Annie Rose. Oh my goodness. She was tugging on Alfie's shirt. Then Alfie felt a little hand in his. It was Annie Rose. She had joined the wedding procession and was toddling happily up the church beside Alfie. So there's the pretty bridesmaids all dressed up, and they're doing what they're supposed to, and the people watching what's happening. Everybody watching, and there's Lynn with her father, and they're getting close to the front of the church. See, she's walking with her father. See, I'm trying to see if I can get it so you can see the picture better. It's at a funny angle for this one. And following right behind Lynn is Alfie, now with Annie Rose. Alfie glanced round. He saw Mum looking at him, and he looked back at her. They both knew Annie Rose rather well. They knew that if Mum came and picked her up to take her back to her seat, she would, do you know what she would do? She would scream very loudly. Oh dear. She might even lie down in the middle of the church and go all stiff and drum her feet on the floor. Oh my goodness. She might have a real temper tantrum right there in the middle of the church. Can you imagine? Alfie knew how terrible that would be. So he turned round again and walked on, holding Annie Rose's hand tightly. And she walked beside him as good as gold. So now that she's with Alfie, she's behaving herself rather well. She walked beside him as good as gold. She had watched him practicing and knew just what to do. Isn't that funny? When they reached Harvey and the minister, the music stopped and they all stood still. But Mum, meanwhile, had slipped up to the front of the church, and when Annie Rose saw her, she calmly let go of Alfie's hand and trotted over to her. Annie Rose was very good and quiet all through the talking and singing and prayers. But when at last the wedding service was over and Lynn and Harvey walked smiling arm in arm out of the church, Annie Rose struggled out of Mum's arms and joined in behind them, next to Alfie. And she was just as careful as he was not to tread on Lynn's dress. See, they had to go back out of the church the same way they came in, following Lynn. Only now, instead of being with her father, Lynn is with her husband, Harvey Jones. Okay, so they had to leave the church the same way, and Annie Rose held Alfie's hand and went with them. Outside in the sunshine, the church bells rang out. Lynn and Harvey stood on the steps while a man took photographs. The bridesmaids stood on either side and Lynn and Harvey in the middle. Then Lynn made Annie Rose stand next to Alfie, right in front, for a picture. See, that's the picture that they took, with Alfie and Annie Rose and Lynn and Harvey Jones and the two bridesmaids. It's a very nice picture, isn't it? Oh boy, this is a big, big picture. This is the picture of the party afterwards. This thing right here, see this? This great big tall thing is a cake. Can you believe it? A cake that big? That's what wedding cakes look like. People are laughing and talking and enjoying some cake. Looks like maybe some ice cream. There's Lynn and her new husband, Harvey Jones. And let's see, over here, more people. There's Alfie's mom and Alfie and Annie Rose. Looks like they have some cake to enjoy. Here, we'll look at part of the picture and then the other part, because it's a very big picture. Lots of things to see. I know you want to be able to see that cake. Afterwards, they all went into a big room where a lot of beautiful food was laid out. There was a white wedding cake with a silver horseshoe on top. That's for good luck. Alfie had 2 kinds of cake and some strawberries. Annie Rose had a chocolate cream roll. I didn't know I was going to have 3 bridesmaids, said Lynn, laughing. But I guess 3 is a much luckier number than 2. So she wasn't cross about it at all, was she? She just said it was nice to have 3 bridesmaids. Annie Rose got to be one of the bridesmaids. And Alfie did a good job as a page. The end. I hope you enjoyed the story. I love you.